to episode 60, 6-0, another decade gone in the new meta book. Marco, welcome. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Happy Halloween.
When is Halloween?
Mate,
Today.
fucking today?
Is it? Oh, sorry.
Why do you think I was asking, like, should we make this Halloween themed?
I don't know. Halloween does... How big's Halloween in your neck of the woods, Marco? I know obviously it's huge in America, but...
Don't think...
Can you tell?
Stuff. I mean, I saw some people walking over from work, out and about, but I'm not, like, throwing myself in there tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I can't tell. I can't tell whether... The only thing I can tell is that they're selling pumpkins in, like, shops and stuff.
Yeah, pumpkin strong.
Yeah, I mean, although when you're a kid, it's pretty strong. Halloween's pretty strong when you're a kid.
I mean, yeah.
Adam, you're American, so presumably you were dressed up from head to toe as Shadow Demon or something.
No, not today. Not for many years. But fond memories of... I do have lots of fond memories of dressing up.
Trick or treat for the win.
Yep.
We talked briefly before we started recording about games. Adam, you can start us off because... Bit of green gaming action. Some good stuff, right?
Yeah, I'd started to play... This is kind of a journey, right? I got fed up with unranked solo games. Stan knows, because every day I'd, like, complain to him about it. Because it was, like, being really, really imbalanced. Like, I would be on the team with a 3-stack and 2 solos. I would be a solo, and the other team would have, like, 5 ranked immortals. High-ranked immortals, and like that,
didn't make any sense.
Very fair. Yeah, it didn't make any sense. And then, so kind of like, I think what I finally gave up was I got a rank 29 on my team and an Ancient 4, and I was like, this is too big of a spread. I just want to play with people that are at my level. I don't want to get flamed by a rank 29 because I didn't play well.
Yeah.
Because I knew I didn't play well already.
What happened to the ranked? Have you been avoiding ranked?
Yeah, I've only been doing unranked.
Why?
Just to like try out different things, learn stuff.
Yeah.
Try a bit of wonky builds, have a little bit of fun. But because I mean, ranked had its own problems with games not being super balanced because they're changing matchmaking. I guess that's trickled down to unranked too. So then I started playing ranked a little bit. I'm on a 7-game win streak between ranked and unranked with you guys. Stan and I have been killing it. So,
yeah.
But then Stan got a taste. He got to see, like, we won 3 games yesterday, I think. And in each of them, there was like a rank 120 person on the other team.
It really was bizarre. Your unranked games just boggle my mind how I don't understand the matchmaking. Like, in all 3 of our games, there was immortals and, like, high immortals. The most recent one, that game where I played Razor, what is it, rank 129 Rubik on the other team. Adam's our highest ranked player, Divine 2. So I think I've said I think Adam's secret unranked MMR is like 8k or something. It's the only thing that makes sense, because the teams are balanced, and then suddenly it's Adam versus rank 129. Needless to say, we rattled off the victory there. But that's why I'm giving that game a shout out particularly. But yeah, all of those 3, weird matchmaking. It's so funny as well because you mentioned having a rank 29 player and an Ancient 4 on the same team. It reminds me of when I think it was CCNC complaining about matchmaking. He said having like a Divine player, like a Divine 1, say, on my team, the gap in MMR between me and a Divine 1 is bigger than a gap in MMR between that Divine 1 and a Herald 1. So it's like, imagine playing with a Herald 1 if you're Divine. That's like what it feels like for me when I play with a Divine 1. So it's kind of crazy, the gaps you can get with some of these high rank immortals. Their MMR's so high. But yeah, winning games, green gaming.
I see you've got a hidden DotA buff, Stan.
Yes, that's a story in of itself, man. It's this Overwolf DotA Plus thing that I downloaded about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
On someone's recommendation in Discord, and it's so exposing of players that I just was jealous of these hidden profile players that would come up on the Overwolf program, and I'd be like, wow, I really have no reads on what heroes they play whatsoever, and I'm at a disadvantage because I'm getting my best heroes banned against me.
That's what Bulldog uses, right?
Yeah, it's the one you see on Bulldog vids, yeah. Particularly when Viper started getting banned in a couple of games, I was like, alright, it's gone too far now, because there's literally no reason to ban Viper unless the Overwolf has shown, because the Overwolf, you can see your own stats as well, so, because it just does it for the whole game, it's not biased, it doesn't show any differently, the stats from your perspective, if you know what I mean. I've explained that horribly, but basically, I can see what...
spammed a bunch of Viper, right? And then they'll...
Yeah, and it shows the win rate and it shows the pick rate. So Viper was showing up in big green next to my name for everyone that had the software. So it's like a no-brainer. It gives you the suggested bans through some sort of scoring system, and it was suggesting Viper bans. So then I was like, man, I'm hiding, at least for a little bit.
And see, I kind of thought sometimes when I was spamming Crystal Maiden like that, there'd be times where the other team would get first pick and they would pick Crystal Maiden. And I'm thinking, like, do they have this app? Do they have the Overwolf, Because, like, no one usually... It's not like it wasn't the most popular support at the time. I always kind of felt like they could see that you've spammed, like, 20 CM games in a row, and then they just, like, you can't ban it, but you'll just pick it instead type of thing.
Like, if you're crashing games on a hero, it only takes 1 of 5 of the enemies to have it, and then you're probably going to get it banned, unless there's someone else on your team that is also crushing even more on their hero. So, but I don't know, I probably will turn it back to public soon, just because I like being able to use DotA buff, basically. But I literally can't use DotA buff if it's hidden, so... But yeah, we'll see. Marco, we just played a bit of a crazy game. I don't know, don't give the full rundown, but in terms of how have your games been, I feel like this one's the freshest in the memory.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to start the pod on the back of a win. I've been trickling the losses recently, but then, flex out the Mars, get the W, green gaming out, and all's well. That ends well. It was a pretty crazy game.
Yeah. We even beat a Dark Willow that went the Ags build.
Yeah,
right? That was in our last pod or 2 pods ago. So
definitely a listener.
Yeah, definitely a listener. That spanked my ass a few times when I was like, wait a sec, 1,000 damage in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, for sure. That was a fun game. It was one of those where the enemy ancient is on 5% HP for about 10 minutes, and we're like trying to finish it off and can't, and have to back out, and then try and go back in again, fail to like do 10% of damage to an ancient, because we've got Mars, Ember Spirit, AA,
Wind
Nyx.
Ranger.
We do have Wind Ranger, and obviously Wind Ranger with Focus Fire can destroy buildings, but Adam's like, being held up with like 3 heroes on him, and I like Remnant. I'm playing Ember Spirit, and I like Remnant in to try and finish off the Ancient, and I like measly hitting it with just a Mjolnir. Like, it's not enough.
I didn't even go like physical damage build. I had Spirit Vessel and Blade Mail, so
yeah,
that was
funky. I like that.
What do you think of the Spirit Vessel? I
really liked the Spirit Vessel.
Oh, really?
I felt bad because I got the Spirit Vessel right when James finished Earn on Nyx. I'm like, you're going to have to get rid of this. Like, I'm not about to do this again, this 2 Earn thing. But I thought that was pretty cool on Wind Ranger, because you're wanting to fight, gives you move speed, gives you mana regen, gives you things that tag kills. You should always have charges, but then the Blade Mail felt really underwhelming. I kind of rated it. I thought it was could be cool, because they had a mid Lion and they had Dark Willow going that the right click build, and then they also had Luna, which Blade Mail's good against all those, but it just, I don't know.
I don't know if Wind is tanky, and when you get it 27 minutes.
Yeah, but
the damage
he did have the Axe, so he could kill himself on it though at that point.
They did have a lot of blowiness on their team with the Willow, Lion, Luna.
But Ags was great. After I got the Ags, I think I kind of took over with the shackles and stuff.
Yeah, the Ags was huge.
Lion mid, I was against a Lion mid, and it's the most annoying hero, but it's also just trash. I feel like I never lose to Lion mid, but it's so annoying because you will just get blown up out of nowhere at least 2 times on each hero or something. I mean, our game went to almost an hour, but the hero is just such a gimmick. It's so annoying. He gets level 6 and it's just burst a hero 80% of their HP with one spell, and then when it's on cooldown, you're just waiting for it to not be on cooldown anymore, basically. So
his Ags was
it's such a bad... Yeah, his Ags is crazy.
He had a 25-minute Ags, which is way too late if you want to be a mid line.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a bad hero as well. It's like you get BKBs and then he's just trying to survive.
To focus him for 1 second, he's paper. He just blows up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, well, can we talk about their support troll, though? They're like 5-position troll.
We can if you want. I don't know what much there is to talk about a
5-position troll. He got Ags, so he kind of like turned into a Weaver with an Ags or something. Like, like the save component.
I felt like it was bad, though, because there was a couple of times where he used it on Luna, and then we ran away, and Luna just chases us way out of position, yeah.
And plus we had AA, so she wasn't even life-stealing.
Yeah,
because you do get Giga life-steal. Angie had a Satanic, but we also had a lot of Yules. So he would do that, and we would just Yules the person in the air, or I would shackle, and then throw on a Spirit Vessel, and it's just like, you're done. It was kind of cool, but it was really bad in lane.
Yeah. Remarkable number of last hits on this Willow, 383. That's more than Mars.
That's Maelstrom for you.
It's more than me as well, more than Mars. More than only Luna had more, which is obviously always going to be the case. Topic then for this episode, sadly, I feel like we say this every week, sadly, Outlander's still not upon us. You mentioned it's coming soon or something? I missed that. Did they just release
I 3 weeks. Is it 3? Really? Is that the...
Well, it's after Major, so whenever that Major finishes, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, that's too long. I want it to
late
be
November,
now.
Like Thanksgiving time, I guess.
The Major ends 24th of November. I thought it was earlier.
Yeah, well anyway, until then I suppose. So we've still got 3 weeks of the current meta. And on that note, the hero we're going to talk about first is a hero I've been hot on for a long time. He comes in for a one-bite kill, as Adam would say, and it's Viper. This hero is... I'm not even 5k MMR, but I'm going to say this: you can get to 5k MMR with this hero, and you don't even have to be good. If you just play enough, because it's good in every game, it's super versatile, you can build any items that you want. It hard counters some heroes, which is always nice. And you're just super strong. You can't lose a lane because you just push it out with W. I don't really know where we'd start with Viper, but...
Well, do you want to start with why he got popular in the first place? He's been nerfed since then, but kind of what made him...
Yeah.
It all came out of nowhere with Matu doing that Nether Toxin stacking in the woods.
Greaves.
Yeah.
Greaves. And he was coming out with ridiculous farm because the Nether Toxin stacked, so he could farm incredibly fast.
Yeah, it was weird how it came out of nowhere, because you think about it now, and max Nether Toxin is just obvious because it's such a good spell, such a good thing. But I swear, people were still playing old Viper where they don't max Nether Toxin and they're maxing like corrosive skin poison attack. And then suddenly Matu's like, wait, just stacking loads and just mega farming on Viper. And it's the most insanely egregious hero ever out of nowhere, like you say.
I mean, at that time, it was 100% up, right? Once you got it to max, it sat there and there was no downtime.
There's still no downtime. It's a 6-second cooldown on an 8-second duration at all levels. So,
maybe it was like even more. It was like 8 and 5 or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that, and it stacked as well, which it doesn't anymore.
It's just one of those things where the hero gets a new skill or a rework on a skill, and then people kind of just build it the old way still. Because I mean, were you around when Viper's W was just like a last hit mechanic, kind of?
Yeah, for the longest before
7 was the change.
Was it 7.07? It was a weird old. He used to have 2 passives, and it was one
just
was
like the lower health that something had, the more damage you would do.
Yeah. Now they've moved that to the Q. Kind of the Q's got some sort of function of that. But yeah, Nether Toxin is still the crux of this hero because it means that he's kind of a get out of laning free hero in the sense that you can have some matchups that you can just simply destroy. I'm trying to think of some examples of matchups that Viper's going to do incredibly well in. I don't know. Ember, you're going to do incredibly well. Most melee heroes, to be fair, you're going to do incredibly well. Storm, you're going to do incredibly well. We can't really contest you.
What about Necro?
Necro, you can't either. I think you're still going to just
trade.
Necro will probably be passive in trade, but like
the thing is if it goes passive in trade, then you win because you get the jungle.
You will jungle better. Yeah.
Well, like Necro can jungle well, but not as well as Viper, that's for sure.
But like a Pugna, say like a Pugna.
Oh
right?
yeah,
because you push out the lane, he pushes out the lane, but then you go take a camp and come back,
and you can't really.
Yeah.
Who's he bad in the lane against?
He's really bad against Clinks. That's the big one. He's not very good against Sniper. Is good against him too. He's not very good against Lina either. Lina's another hero that doesn't really care. Even then, even heroes like Lina and what was the one I said before? Sniper and Clinks, which is the worst matchup. Even against them, you can just push out the lanes and it's fine. You're never going to be crushed, which I think for a aspiring mid player, never getting crushed in the lane puts you in a position to win games so much more. Because realistically, in a game of Dota, say in the average situation, you're going to win one of your side lanes, lose one of them, or more or less. And then if you just don't get crushed mid, you're going to be able to contribute with Atos Greaves at some point. Sure, you might not be an around the map menace that you'd envisioned when you pick Viper, but you're going to still put your team in such a good position to win the game. And you can always
probably be level 10 to their level 9 just off of the last hit, and like jungle creeps level 10 to 8, something like that.
Not 8. I mean, you're never going to be, and gold wise, you're going to be even. Say a hero like Clinks, he counters you kind of in the sense that when he's level 6, he can kill you quite comfortably. Even then, you just don't go to the creep wave. You just press a W. When your W's level 2, if you get a full duration W on them on the creep wave, it's going to die. All of the creeps. And when it's level 3 and 4, it just melts the creeps. I mean, it really just destroys them. So you can use Nether Toxin from a safe distance. Don't try and CS because you're just trying to de-push the wave, and the creeps die so quick that Clinks can't. Maybe he can get one deny out of a full wave because they're just like tick, 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 dead. He can get maybe one deny in, and then he'll be trying to last hit one of his creeps, and then suddenly they're all dead. So the lane really is never that bad. And then you just go to the jungle, and even this quote-unquote bad matchup against Clinks, you're probably going to have more gold than him, or at least very similar, because you're going to be getting multiple camps with Nether Toxin. If you're dire particularly, you can farm the camp closest to the mid, and that mid... is it a medium camp? That one that's next to it? You know the one I mean. You just pull them together and you farm them both with one Nether Toxin.
The mid and hard camp?
Yeah, and the same deal on Radiant. It's a bit more annoying because you've got to drag them to the shrine. You know, the shrine. Those two camps around the shrine, you can farm them both at the same time. It's a bit further away. Another tip for laning with Viper is you can easily stack two camps at the same time with Nether Toxin on both Radiant and Dire. So on Radiant, you stack obviously the camp that's right next to the lane. But then just before you stack that, you Nether Toxin up the hill to that camp, that medium camp or whatever it is, the hard camp, at say 54 seconds. And then turn around, right click at 55, the other camp, and then just run back to lane and they'll both stack easily. Same deal on Dire. Nether Toxin at 54, and then pull at 55. The only difference on Dire is that you've got to walk down, because if you walk straight back to lane, the creeps that you pulled with a Nether Toxin will run into the spawn box of the camp nearest, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So be careful with that one.
Just like your Alk.
Yeah.
Alk stuff.
Yeah, like with acid spray, exactly the same stuff, yeah. I suppose that's laning pretty much. Another thing I'll say for laning, I feel like I'm in danger of just soapboxing this whole episode on Viper, so I'll do my best to not do that. But another laning thing for Viper is if there's a matchup that you can just completely dominate, it's worth considering doing that, because there are some games where you just want to farm and not really worry about the enemy mid's farm, say a Clinks, because you know you can't contest his lane really, and you know that he can't farm jungle like crazy. But there are some heroes where if you just ferry lots of regen, and I'm talking mangoes and salves, preemptively, you know, as all good mid players should, but just preemptively buy sours and mangoes and just stand on the enemy ramp and get a value point in your queue. It's so hard for a lot of heroes to stand up against that. I know I've had games against mid silencer and even a Wind Ranger, which is considered a good matchup for Wind Ranger against Viper. Just stand on the enemy high ground mid. If the hero tries to get close to you, you just poison attack them, and then you basically just completely rule the lane. And while you might forfeit some jungle creeps, you completely shut down the enemy mid. So there's really a lot of options. Not necessarily options, but there's a lot of really positive eventualities. High risk, low reward hero. No, the other way around.
Low
risk, high reward when you pick Viper. That's what it feels like to me. It's going to be fine in every game ever, more or less. And it's going to completely destroy some games. So that's basically the crux of why you want to play this series.
Yeah, and the occasion where you're against an enemy co-op and the enemy co-op just refuses to stop using Q on you. If you max corrosive skin, you're laughing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you just need level 1 corrosive skin, right?
I mean, I think this guy probably got at least 2 or 3 levels in it when I was playing against him because I just kept flying Qs on him and not understanding why I was dying.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe if you keep your points of corrosive equal with their points in the queue, like you always do more damage to them than they do to you with
the magic corrosive resist from corrosive, though, felt like he wasn't taking damage.
Oh, I'm just saying, I mean, maybe he kept it at level 1. But that's the thing is, like, if Quap Qs the Viper, the Quap always takes more damage. So don't do it.
I just got wrecked when I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also got wrecked by the Viper change when his Q, the orb attack, went to 0 seconds one patch at level 1, I think. Or it was maybe 0 seconds. Yeah, there used to be.
It used to be 0, yeah.
When it was 0 seconds level 1,
it was an orb.
Didn't really register that, and I just lost my mind when I just kept getting orb attacked.
There is a reasonable versatility with how you level Viper early. Adam said you can just get 1 point in corrosive. You can go, say, WQW at level 3, or you can go WEW. That's pretty much the only real option. Sometimes you see people go EQQ if they're trying to just destroy a 1v1 matchup. But I'd say it can be difficult unless you're really high MMR to understand and be good enough to execute. You know how really good players, they know, TA is favoured against Invoker. And if you're just really good pro players, the TA is going to be able to execute and the lane sort of plays out as it should, quote unquote. Unless you're like that good, I would say it's safer to just level Nether Toxin rather than being like, I'm mid against a Leshrac and I should destroy him and I can just go E. Because if that doesn't play out how you envisage, then you're kind of stuffed. If you're sitting at level 3 with no W, you can't really farm, you can't recover. And it's just, game's going to be really difficult. So the safer thing to do is definitely match the W. You can get no points in Q until level 11 if you really want.
Yeah.
I say in most games probably to go get a value point in Q at 5. Although I know definitely sometimes I've got that value point at 8 or 7. Just going WE before level 6. There's options. The nice thing about the Q to remember is that as a slow, just a 10% move slow is enough for you to catch up and get another 2 clicks in, probably, if you're stutter stepping. And that can be a big difference if you're playing aggressively. The more aggressively you play, the more you want to consider getting Q, basically. And the more farmy, de-pushing, group up, push towers you're playing, the more maybe you want to look towards E and W. Marco, you're a big fan of Greaves, and as we look out of the laning stage towards itemization, do you think Atos Greaves is just the no-brain auto every game?
Is it when you say Atos Greaves, do you mean Atos first and then Greaves as well?
Yeah, well, that's the standard.
Okay. In most cases, I think it is too good, really. particularly the Greaves. So obviously the Atos is nice for a bit of stats. You got a bit of catch, goes well with just catching, holding heroes in place with your Nevertoxin, etc. But the Greaves, with your naturally tanky component of corrosive skin, if you just sit at the front of a ball of heroes, and if you're in this sweet early mid game, so maybe around 20 minutes, say you have an Atos Greaves you've been farming well, you're just so hard to kill. It's kind of a joke with that.
Especially if you're sitting in your nether toxin, so they're going on you in nether toxin while you have corrosive skin and Greaves
and 8% spell lifesteal.
Yeah,
at 10, which is a no-brain talent.
Yeah, so I was thinking, could you ever justify any other items? I think Hood, if it's a really magic damage intense game, I think you can definitely justify a Hood. But that's situational. You can
justify a pipe as well, I think.
Justify a pipe maybe, but I think most often the Greaves on a Viper is going to be better because just the active is so good that when you're the front line, you've got lots of debuffs on you, to be able to use that active, get major value on it, whereas a pipe, I like it more anyone can build a pipe and use it and we all win, but the active dispel that you get from the Greaves is super nice. But then the other kind of situational items I'd probably ever consider is the likes of a halberd if there's a very particular melee hitters on the enemy team, but again, that would probably come after your Atos Greaves. Yeah, I think that setup's just too strong.
Yeah, I agree. Atos Greaves, I'm going in 90% of games. The only times I'm not is when, like Marco said, it's super magic damage heavy, and I'll go Atos Pipe Greaves sometimes. Sometimes also Atos is bad, and there's nothing wrong with rushing a Greaves. I've seen people just rush Greaves first item. There's nothing wrong with doing that. You can also, occasionally you'll see Yules, but I don't rate that at all. If you think that Atos is just going to be too bad, you're against a Legion commander, a Baden or something, or just heroes that Atos is just completely useless against, then maybe you can disregard that. But in most games, the Atos just gives your hero so much. When you come out the mid lane, you've got all these levels. You're super strong. You're an absolute menace. And catch and gap close is the one thing you really miss. So getting that Atos around 11 to 15 minutes, you're just going to, at that point, crush. And then Greaves is the moment you literally just win the game. In half the Viper games, it feels like you just win when you get Greaves. Your team pushes, and the advantage that it gives you with both the active mend and the passive guardian aura, it's just your whole team just becomes you become unkillable, and your whole team become way, way, way harder to take down, and enemies just won't respect Greaves. It's not as big of a thing as, you see sometimes in games, someone ping, the enemy Luna or the enemy PA, 10-second BKB, like, oh wow, that's really strong, maybe don't fight. Greaves is on the Viper is like as big, if not bigger, for team per fight situations than having a 10-second BKB on a core. Like, honestly, it's cannot be understated how huge this timing is.
Well, everyone underrates the I don't know what you call it when someone's low. The bonus armor, bonus heal.
Yes,
that's like the most underrated mechanic in DotA. I feel like.
Yeah. If an allied hero health falls below 20%, they receive 16 health regen and 10 armor.
20%? That's a decent chunk of HP still left. And you've now got 10 armor, a plate mail, and 16 HP regen, like 3 rings of health or something.
Yeah, most dots don't kill you, and then you throw on like the heal, and then you're fine. So
yeah, it's just a huge, huge item. There's no question about it. If you are playing Viper, make sure your team knows.
You get the Greaves on Viper earlier than most heroes. It's like back in the day when people were buying all sorts of mechs early on mids. Before Greaves was even a thing, it was the same type of deal. It's like you get it at such a stage that no one can contest you as a group, as a death ball. And you can just kind of take towers. But now it's like Mech is underwhelming, but Greaves is still really good. It's just that it's 5.5, 5.7K or something.
Yeah, it is expensive, and so its timing is really important, and obviously it's going to have more impact the earlier you can get it, and then that goes into you. Ideally, in the perfect world, your team is aware of this timing, and that they should really not impede you getting it as fast as you can, because you could easily find yourself in a game where you're this Viper, I'm going to get my Greaves, hit this time, and we go, but then your team might be on a different page. If you're, say, not in a stack or something, and then maybe you're being a bit too active and a bit aggro before your timings come online, like maybe trying to find kills or towers and maybe dragging you away from your farming patterns, etc. That shouldn't be how the game goes. You should make it clear to your team, just send one message, let me get Greaves, can we just play a bit passive, get Greaves, then go, and it'll make all the difference.
Yeah. If you can pick up this Greaves item at around 20 to 22 minutes, that's just go time right there. You're just winning the game. I can't tell you how many times.
Greaves at 20 to 22?
At 20 to 20. Well, yeah, 20 to 25. Is that with an ATOS? 20 to 22. Yeah, with an ATOS, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was about to say.
Yeah, ATOS names that time.
But if you get or if you go Greaves first and get it like 13 to 15, that's crazy.
Yeah, they're both crazy. Yeah. I would say the ATOS, I would always want to get ATOS first, because I think it's so helpful for making sure you can get done what you want to get done. If you just have Greaves and you don't have the catch of an ATOS, sure, you can siege a high ground. But at 13 minutes, at 15 minutes, I don't think the rest of your team is strong enough to literally end the game.
Yeah.
But
you're also stuck with you're stuck with a Viper with a mech that doesn't have the mana that you really use the mech.
Yeah, the build-up's just not good.
Yeah, you get great stats on the ATOS.
And the ATOS, that's what I would say about this hero before you get the ATOS. That can be a bit of a difficult time, because you're trying to farm this ATOS before you really can get stuck in, but sometimes other mids are flying around the map getting stuff done with their level 6, and sometimes that it can be the most difficult time to play Viper, getting the balance right between farm and rotations, because no doubt even a hero like Viper, if you turn up to a side lane, if you're getting your whatever it's called, Viper Strike on any hero, they're going to die pretty much if you get to that side lane, ATOS or not. But sometimes you can waste time moving to a side lane and nothing happens. That's so detrimental before you get your ATOS, because the ATOS is the most important hallmark of your timing, because that just opens up your game so much. You get ATOS, you go to a side lane, it's honestly just a guaranteed kill. You ATOS someone, easily enough space for you to run up and Viper Strike them, poison attack, nether toxin, all the rest of it. They're dead for sure, and then you're getting a tower. Then the map's opened up, you steal neutral camp super easy with nether toxin. You're an absolute nemesis. Just anyone tries to contest you, ATOS, you have one hero with you, they're dead, and you're just creating so much space. That's one thing. So your team's just winning anyway, just because you're creating so much space for your carry. And you're still farming really fast with nether toxin, just pushing waves for days, and then retreating, destroying the map. And then that's where that ATOS into kill, into tower, into creating space while farming, into Greaves, into win. And it's the easiest hero to execute such a simple strategy with if you're trying to win games out of mid.
Yeah, that is the perfect formula to how to play the Viper game. I think your point about the enemy mids being active and more tempo than you, that is a really critical point of your game. I think it's very easy to get kind of even pressured by your team into trying to make rotations happen. And at the end of the day, when you're a Viper with brown boots and you're moving at like 325 movement speed or something, you're really never going to get work done before the ATOS. So I think 95% of the games actually just not getting involved unless there's some really obvious TP rotation to be made pre-ATOS. Just don't, and just get that ATOS and then go, because as a hero, you are just way too strong and you've got and you just got to be strong-minded and go, sorry guys, I'm useless at rotations pre-ATOS.
Yeah.
Play a
just
bit.
Wait for my ATOS and then it's go time. An interesting part of Viper, I would say, is what you go after Atos Greaves. A lot of the time in an ideal Viper game, that's never a decision you have to make because their throne's already destroyed. But items after Atos Greaves, let me get your opinions first, because obviously I'm the dirty Viper picker here. So I'm interested to see a unbiased opinion. Adam, what items do you think you'd be looking towards?
On a Viper?
Yeah, or is it just totally hero dependent?
Oh man, it feels game dependent.
Yeah, I mean it is.
I've seen them do like Maelstrom.
Yeah,
which is kind of weird.
Mm.
You can go Aura guy. Yep. Maybe not Man, I'm trying to think of something you get after Atos Greaves, like the natural build up. I've seen like S and Y. Or even like Kaya Yasha I've seen.
Yeah.
Magic.
I don't feel like you want to go straight into like an AC or a butterfly.
No.
Straight into
it's like I don't know, what's a mid-tier item that you get the follow-up?
I feel like the Viper should be viewed as being transitions into this position 3 kind of hero, and the items I'd see as possibilities would be, say, your halberd could very easily be one. I think in some games, I mean, maybe halberd always is better than this, but looking at the Ags and the 10-second cooldown on Ags and the kite ability that gives you maybe a bit more damage, I think that could be considered, but I'm not a Viper player, so don't take my word on the Ags. Lotus in certain games can be OP. I think it's an underrated item. Gives you more tankiness, gets more dispel. You can frontline that bit better, etc. I like a Lotus. Then what else would I consider?
There's a top 5 item that hasn't been mentioned.
You're going to mention Solar or something?
No. Besides Wraithband, there's Rod and Guardian Greaves and Ags, and then there's a number 4 item that we haven't said.
What is the top 3 item?
Is it? I haven't looked.
Most used item.
Viper.
I haven't looked at it, but is it? It's not like Bassi.
No, it's like a 2K
BKB?
item.
2K item. Blade Mill.
I guess.
Yeah.
Blade Mill. Yeah, Blade Mill's an interesting one. I'd rarely pick up a Blade Mill because I feel like once you've got Atos Greaves, you can, but you really need strong reason to reach back for a Blade Mill. An item, just from my experience, I agree with everything that's just been said. If you have a scaling 3, that's something to look out for. If your position 3 is a Weaver, which makes me want to gag just thinking about it, but if your position 3 is a Weaver or a Wind Ranger, even something like a Sand King, because they're very high damage, hero like that is high damage and potentially scales, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with just going, like what Marco said, just position 3 hero or a builder. You can, after your Greaves, you can go Pipe Crimson and it's fine. You can just pretend you're Underlord. There's really no problem with that if you have damage coming out of your 3, or you have just an Omega hard carry position 1 that can 1v5. Something like, I don't know, Spectre or Void or something, I suppose. But I think you can reach for an AC straight away after Atos Greaves. I know I've done that sometimes, and it helps if you've already taken a lane of racks. Sometimes I'll then consider AC because the map's going to be more open because you've got one lane pushing in always. And AC is kind of like an end the game kind of item. You just pick it up and it's like, makes your team that much stronger at pushing and sieging. It's really good in a sieging situation. An item that no one... Yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry. So there's 2 items that have been picked up pretty much the same amount. And I think they're both pretty cool.
Well, the item, my shout, the item that I'd get in a normal game unless otherwise thought about, I actually think E-Blade is a sick Viper item.
That was not one of them. That's a 65% win rate item.
Okay. Well, E-Blade is an item I love building on Viper because it serves 2 purposes. One, obviously the Ether Blast disables a target from attacking or makes a target immune from attacking, and that's crazy good save potential. Against, in the current meta, like Void is obviously a super picked hero. If I'm ever against a Void, I'm just picking up an E-Blade, because if someone gets chronoed, I just save them so easily. Yeah. And the other side to that is, it boosts your damage so much, because you're just magic damage. If you ult someone and W them and E-Blade them, they just melt. I mean, they actually melt.
Level 20 talent as well. 100 DPS for your ult.
And once you've got the E-Blade as well, you can get the Aghanims. You can go Aghs first. I know some people go Aghs first. I think
another pseudo route with the Atos. The E-Blade slows so much that you do sit in your W, and then with your ult too.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. If they don't have a 4-staff, it's just over with that item. 4-staff is another item that you can just pick up if your team needs it. I know I've gone 4-staff a lot of times. Mobility is obviously something that Viper struggles with a lot, and that helps alleviate that deficiency on the hero's kit. I don't know if there's anything else worth mentioning. Adam mentioned the right-click route, and I think this is coming in a bit more. I watched a replay of a Viper that literally went for the exact opposite talents that I get, because you basically have a magic route where you go Spell Lifesteal at 10, Corrosive Skin Stats at 15, Viper Strike DPS at 20, and Nether Toxin Silencers at 25. You do sometimes see Vipers go like Mjolnir Pike, just right click, and they go attack speed at 10, attack range at 15, poison attack affects buildings at 20, and 160 damage at 25. I haven't personally experimented with that, but that's another option. I would say if you've gone Atos Greaves, though, to then try and transition towards like Mjolnir and Pike is probably a bit of a stretch. I just think compared to going something like E-Blade or, BKB or AC or something, it's too risky that it's not going to be good value for gold.
There are a few more items that have been picked up over 50,000 times this month, so I think they're worthwhile to talk about. There's Octarine, Shivas, and Heart. Shivas seems very good.
Shivas is a good... Yeah. You're right about Shivas.
That one's got almost a 70% win rate in games that's been picked up. Same with Octarine. Octarine's kind of a meme. And I guess it does stack nicely with your spell life still, but you do get to use your items a lot more in your spells. But then Heart seems like everything that a Viper wants to be doing.
Yeah. I've never got Heart. I haven't thought about that. Octarine and Shivas is legit, though. I think particularly Shivas. That's a great item.
More slow, more AoE. Just Shivas' armor is nice.
The aura from Shivas is so underrated.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite items, honestly, Shivas, top 3, and one of the most underrated.
So does Shivas BKB piercing attack speed slow?
Attack speed?
I don't know if it's BKB piercing, but it is attack speed slow.
Right.
Let me click on that.
I don't think it pierces BKB from game.
It says it's spellable.
Okay.
I mean, it's a decent radius on that 1,200 on the attack speed aura slow, and it's just slowing people's 45. Attack speed by 45. That's like a hyperstone, right? Or
yeah, it's a hyperstone. Well, 5 less, but it's a hyperstone.
Yeah,
strong stuff.
15 armor, 30 intelligence, just gives you more spam spells. I don't think you ever run out of mana with Atos Greaves Shiva on Viper.
Yeah. I don't think there's any... I don't think another item gives you 15 armor, unless Lotus does.
AC
only gives 10, Lotus 10. So
it gives 10 plus a aura, though. I think the aura stacks with the...
Okay, so that would make it 15. Yeah, so that and AC are like your armor items, but you can easily forget about Shiva's being a tanky armor item as well.
Another item that I haven't talked about is Nullifier. You can get a Nullifier sometimes as well. Because in a late game situation where you've gone down this alt beefing route, say you've got an Aghs or an E-Blade, maybe not both, because then that's like ultra late game where you'd have both and Nullifier. But if you get a Nullifier and it means that enemies can't use 4-staff, it's like a guaranteed kill. I still think Nullifier is a very underrated item in general.
Yeah,
it's worth considering, even as a Viper in later games.
Yeah, I quite like the aspect of Viper that once you've got a Greaves, Atos, you do have a lot of license to pick an item which is very much game-specific against the enemy team. You're not one of these heroes where, I need to get this for myself and this for myself and this for myself. You can go, no, actually, what have the enemy team got? And I'm going to build items that like directly affect them, like your halberds or your nullifier, or your E-blade saves, whatever. You can get really nice game-dependent value items because he doesn't have many core items, just apart from those first two.
Yeah, for sure. Already talked about talents, really. The 8% spell lifesteal is not to be scoffed at. 8% might seem small, but it means, first of all, that you just have infinite sustain health-wise, no matter what you do, because you just nether toxin a creep wave or a neutral camp while not taking much damage, and you'll just heal. And also it means that it's extremely, extremely difficult for heroes to go on you. You might not think 8% is much, but if you just nether toxin over yourself and just stand your ground, it's actually really remarkably difficult for heroes to go on you. 2 heroes are there, and that's, I guess, it's stacked. So both heroes that you're dealing damage to, your spell life stealing off both of them, which is a decent amount, especially when you've got magic damage reduction coming from corrosive skin, and especially when you've got extra regen. Say you've reached towards your headdress, looking towards Greaves, or something like that. You're tanky, for sure. So that talent's really strong. The others are so-so. 25's a big one sometimes. Nether Toxin silences against certain heroes, like Pangolier. I know it's very good against Pangolier. Quite good against Tinker as well, because he can't rearm Shift Q Blink out of Nether Toxin, which he otherwise can do, which is a bit annoying. Because the tick instances are quite low, so if you get a Nether Toxin on top of a Tinker, it doesn't mean that you've got him. He can just rearm and blink out quite easily, so worth noting that. And then, yeah, like I said, the other talents are pretty self-explanatory. I suppose that's about it, really. Anything more we want to say on Viper?
His Nether Toxin breaks. Have we even mentioned that at all?
Yeah, that's pretty huge against like Spectre, particularly. You're really good against Spectre.
Bristleback.
Yes.
In lane, Alk, and Kunkka.
I hadn't even thought about Alchemist. That's so funny.
No gold for your boy.
Yeah. What about Kunkka? So is his Tidebringer classed as a passive, even though you can toggle it on and off?
I thought that it didn't work against that, but now I think I might just be dumb. Surely you can just still use it, right?
Yeah, you can still use it.
Yeah. Well, then it feels good against Kunkka. That's
you're a good hero against Kunkka. His combo doesn't really deal that much damage to you because you've got natural magic resist coming out of your corrosive skin. So plus
he's melee, so you just win the first few levels. Yeah, I was right about Alk though. That does work.
Yeah.
What's Viper's win rate like?
Oh yeah, that's worth pointing out for sure. So Viper's win rate in Divine and Immortal tier is the lowest across the board. 51%. So that's actually lower than I thought it was going to be. I don't know what it says in Klein about the win rate. Let's see here. Okay, so it's higher. It's between 51.7 and 53.5 for Divine Plus, according to DotA. This is in the past 8 weeks. And then the DotA buff one is 51%. Although, like I said, this hero gets easier the lower down. So in whatever category this is, Herald, Guardian, and Crusader, the win rate is 54%, and then it's 54.5 in Archon, 54 in Legend, and 53 in Ancient. So it goes to show me it's an easy hero to play. This is the first hero that I ever crushed a game on. When I first got into Dota, I was playing a bunch of Wind Ranger and a little bit of Lich, and then the first game where I went 20-0 or something was on a Viper. Because when you first learn to play Dota, 20-0 is not that uncommon because games never end and people don't know how to play. And neither did I. I was just clicking buttons and didn't know how to end a game or anything. And this hero is so easy. Simple and easy, and if you go Atos Greaves, you can't go wrong because all you do is press one button and you've just made the game 50% easier for the rest of your team, and that button's Greaves, obviously. So yeah, that's the win rate. Marco, why do you think the win rate's lower in Divine Immortal?
So I think it's like we've said about a slow hero, you want to ball up and then take towers and people aren't ready and it's hard to stop. I think just that understanding is better the higher up you go, and so people will play around Viper by just playing a bit more of a tempo. You don't want to let the enemy team just ball up behind a Viper and mow down your tier 3 at 22 minutes when the Greaves is online. You want to be a bit more active, and you want to abuse the fact that this hero is not mobile. So if a Viper's used the TP top rotation top because you've pressured or you've poked top and made that TP rotation happen, but then retreat, now Viper's basically in the middle of nowhere. Objectives aren't going to be threatened for a long time. You want to hold the map if you're against a slow hero like this. You want to make TP rotations happen and then disengage, move elsewhere, and just stall the game. And then I think, like when we were talking about, what items do you get, say, after your Atos Greaves, it is a kind of an awkward one. You don't want to really go much later in the game, and I do think this guy drops off. I don't think he should be right-clicking. We talked about the magic build, and it's like, yeah, it is decent, but I think when you start getting your 4 staffs BKBs, you can start ignoring this hero, and he's not
you definitely
anymore.
You peak with Greaves, no question.
Definitely peak, yeah. So then I think higher ranked games you go, people are going to be better equipped to dragging it later, stalling the game, not letting you hit your win condition and just walk down the lane. They'd be the biggest things, really, I would think. More macro kind of gameplay.
Yeah, and they're more... I think it's easy for lesser skilled players to quite understand Viper's relative strength, especially around these Atos Greaves timings. He's such a timing-specific hero. If you try and think, they're pushing our tier 2 tower, say, and up until this point in this game, that would be a crazy thing for them to do. Let's fight them. They're out of position. Look, they're all just pushing our tier 2. They can't do that. But you don't realise that they've got Greaves, or maybe you do and you're like, well, it doesn't matter. Actually, literally, in higher Mars, it will be like, right, if we take this fight really smartly, or like half engage, or ignore Viper, or split push, force them out of position, blah, 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 as in, don't just headlessly fight 5-on-5. You know, that understanding is going to decrease Viper's win rate a lot, because you're negating the extent to which he can benefit from his power spike.
Yeah, definitely.
I've said many times, you will literally win games when you pick up Greaves and you push, because they will try and fight your team, win a 5v5, you will crush them with Greaves and Atos, and hopefully your carries had some space and they're reasonably farmed, and you will just go on to win the game because you've got endless sustain. You can just get a lane of racks right there, and the game's 5% chance for the enemy team at that point.
Can I say one thing? One thing in the lane, if you're against a Viper, you just shove the wave in. Try to make it to where, because he's going to try and go off in the jungle and farm, but if you can just keep shoving into his tower, he has to cut down on his jungling, or else he loses the mid tower.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you can do. There's heroes like Pugna and Necro can do stuff like that. They can just shove into the tower, and then you're kind of just playing this game where you're both at your tower, kind of just de-pushing. So that's what you're trading, but at least he's not coming out way ahead off of jungle creeps.
And if you're playing against the Viper, and you say, any hero, any position, 4 staff to me is the item that jumps out as, this is such a value pickup. You can kite the hero so well. If he's going to Atos someone, 4 staff's a great save. Yeah. He's really bad at engaging because it's just a slow waddle Atos. So yeah, your 4 staff mobility, reposition, it's just a really strong item. And it's typically in any game, it's a very strong item. But for someone like Viper, where they don't just have a blow or something like that, kite him for days, blah, blah, blah. 4 staff, one to keep in mind.
It's interesting that we talk about mobility being really good against Viper, and it undoubtedly is, but despite that, Storm Spirit and Queen of Pain, 2 of the most mobile mid-heroes, they're both crushed win rate-wise. They've both got 1.5 to 2% disadvantage against Viper. And I think a lot of that will be down to the lane. I think specifically Storm Spirit just gets kind of destroyed. And like we said, Queen of Pain as well just can't use Dagger at all because of Corrosive Skin. Just to throw out some hero names of heroes that counter. Clinks we already mentioned, that's the worst hero for Viper, 6% disadvantage, that's quite a remarkable amount. Just a 41% win rate for Viper against Clinks. And then after that, Terrorblade, Morphling, Jug, OD is the first mid hero that pops out. 3.5% disadvantage, and then Drow, Rubik, Nature's Prophet, Brood, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, all these heroes, they're not reliant on magic damage. When a hero is reliant on magic damage, Viper is a beast just because of Nether Toxin. It makes him so tanky. You throw a Hood on top of it, if you're a Quap or a Storm, you're not killing a Viper. If he's got Hood and Power Treads on Strength and maybe a Bracer, you would need like Arcane Rune plus Regen Rune on a Storm to kill the Viper. And that is just not I'm not even exaggerating. So that's why heroes magic damage orientated will struggle, and that's where he would be a great pickup. I think macro gameplay that you're looking to play as a team, etc., is you want to exploit his immobility.
Adam, Viper used to be a hero that people would meme about, saying win lane, lose game. But would you agree that it sort of doesn't really work like that anymore? It's not the same hero that it used to be when it was just a complete lane dominator. You don't even like lane sometimes with this guy these days. It's like a different kind of hero, do you think, now?
I do think he's better. I think the 25 talent goes a long way into making it to where he doesn't outright lose late game because he can do the Nether Toxin silences. That kind of brings him back up to being really good again in the late game.
He's not as much of a lane dominator as he was. He can still dominate lanes, but the old Viper was just completely destroy lanes and then fall off harder than any other hero.
He would deny like every creep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a
hero
SF
used to be a joke. Yeah, I guess that's Viper, really. Covered a lot. Gain your free MMR while you can on this hero. At least that's the way I see it. I know a lot of people say that there are other heroes that are more free MMR in the current patch, but Viper is my pick. You can pick him in any game. Pick him second phase. Just go for it. Not the most fun hero. I think it was a C tier fun hero in our famous tier list.
What numbers?
4 out of 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
Or maybe he was D tier, actually. I can't remember. Maybe it was the lowest. Anyway, whatever. Winning MMR is fun, and that's all you need. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Episode 60. We'll be back soon, and I promise to all the listeners that we won't talk about Viper next time. Bye.
Happy Halloween. Trick or treat.